Hello and welcome to Scambait Beyond as we present Scambait Diaries. My name is Amanda J, and here is my co host.
My name is Iconic. We'll be diving deep in the scam community.
We'll be sharing stories from baiters themselves, sharing information about scams to help educate, prevent, promote.
So sit back, relax, and let's start the conversation.
Well, thank you so much for joining Iconic and I. How are you doing today?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for having me.
Hey, anytime, anytime. We just appreciate you taking this opportunity to speak with us because we know that you've been a scam baiter for quite some time. And we just wanted to get the opportunity to be able to have a conversation with you and let people know your story. And that's the important thing. So let's start off with a little bit. Do you mind kind of telling us a little bit of history about yourself? You know.
Well, okay. I try to keep as private as possible, as many might know that have been on my streams. Uh, I kind of try to stay a little incognito and whatnot, but I've been baiting for quite a while, a number of years. I only recently started on the whole streaming thing and kind of checking that out a little bit to see where that goes. But yeah, I'm just here. I love baiting scammers. I love wasting their time. I like collecting information, and I like having a good time doing it. And I think that's kind of the funnest part for me. I've
Mhm.
been in many other chats and streams for years and years and years and gotten to know a lot of the community. And there's a lot of good people with good hearts out there. So I thought, why not? We'll dip our toe in the water and see how warm it is and check it out. But yeah, that's about as far as I'll go with me personally at this time. Maybe down the road after a while, we'll
Right.
uh, we'll delve more into who the real bull is. But for now, I
So,
have so I'll give you a little bit. The reason I do that, I stay a little bit kind of in the shadows, is I've got a lot of people around me that I don't want to be impacted by this in any way. I don't want to
Mhm.
bring any attention or heat on them for any reason whatsoever. And being out kind of in the public eye and having a real life outside of this, it's just not the right time, if that makes sense.
It
of
certainly
course.
does. And we understand that. So that's why we're not gonna go into in-depth private conversations
No,
here.
I appreciate that.
Especially not having it recorded. But we do have a few questions for you. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of start off and then I'll pass it on to Iconic. But
Sounds great.
the first one is what is your why for becoming a scam baiter?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great starting question. I've been asked that actually before, and I kind of got into it for different reasons, but the reason that I keep doing it, or why I keep doing it, is I really am big on trying to, I don't want to say it, impede any kind of progress that the scamming community, that criminal element is trying to make. So if I can do that by wasting time, if I can do that by collecting information, whatever that might be, I feel like I can make a difference, even if it's a really small difference. As I mentioned, I've done this for a long time off stream. I don't, actually, I do a lot off stream today still. And it's all about trying to just do my part. That's really honestly why I do it. I think that it's a challenge, and I'm really, really competitive. And if I view that as a challenge, man, it's me versus scammer. By God, I'm gonna do all I can to try to win that battle every time.
Well, thank you so much for doing that and explaining your why. So thank you. And I
Mhm.
think that's good reason. Also, the next question is, do you mind kind of letting us know if you or anyone in your family has been scammed? And if so, can you elaborate about it? Was it ever resolved?
Ooh, I'm not aware of anybody directly related to me that's ever been fully scammed. Like, I don't think anybody's lost money to it. However, there have been a few cases where it's been close or things have come to my attention that I've kind of been able to intervene on and be like, no, no, no. Um, Not too long ago, really quick story. I was actually driving with a relative and they showed me an email and like, what do you think this is? Like, they were seriously concerned it was a charge. And I don't remember if it was like a Geek Squad or PayPal. It was one of those fake emails. And I was like, oh my God, no, this is what I do. And so right there on him, I put the phone on speaker and I showed him and I called the person on the other line. I was like, "Hey, I'm just trying to tell my friend here that this is fake BS and that you guys are scamming people, right?" And he's like, the scammer was like, "Well, sir, if you thought that was the case, why are you calling me?" So that's probably the closest I've ever been to as far as somebody I know getting scammed.
And that's good that you were able to be there right then and there. So that way they didn't fall
Yeah,
into the bait and then end up having to where they contacted you after. So I think it's
for
great
sure.
that you were able to get it at the precursor instead of having to react afterwards. So
Well, and I
again,
think it's important that we all, like all of us, have kind of that. Whether you're a person that views this stuff, you support, you're a baiter, whatever you are, you have to help those around you understand what's going on. And I think if you educate people and you talk to people about this stuff, it turns on light bulbs and it spreads right there, right? So I'm hoping that
yes,
that impacted that person where they can maybe share it with another person.
and definitely word of mouth, you know how faster that goes
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yep.
And so good. I'm glad that that was all taken care of. So thank you for being there at that moment. Now, as you kind of said, you've been streaming here recently, but I know before that you kind of had to have a little bit of creation before you started baiting, correct? So when you started actually doing the live, how did you create your characters for your baiting?
Oh, I was wondering where this question was going. Well,
Yes.
that's a really good question. So, probably my primary character, George, he's the elderly guy.
Yes.
I have the most success with him. Um, he's somebody that I've always kind of used because the elderly, unfortunately, are prime targets for this, right? And that's an
Right.
easy voice for me to do. Other than that, a lot of the ones that I do on stream are ones that I kind of just came up with on the fly. Like I like a lot of improv type stuff.
Uh-huh.
um, so I'll just go with it depending on how the scammer kind of answers and things like that. Sometimes it's a split decision. Sometimes chat will chime in, but I don't really workshop a lot. I've been meaning to because I need some more characters, but I'm limited because I don't use a voice changer on what I can actually do. But
Right.
George is one that I've had for a long time.
And George is a great character. He's been very, like you said, very successful, and it's a long bait. So that way, then you can get some more in depth information, which is really what you're trying to seek out anyway, correct? And
Definitely.
and so that way I can kind of understand. And then with Frank, he's just a great character. I mean, he's just a
Good old Frank.
so are any of these creator like characters like do they actually reflect anyone in person that you really know?
Oh, um, I'd like to think there's a little bit of like me, like the real me, in all of them. It's
Mhm.
my warped mind. It's my warped sense of humor most of the time. It's never to be like disrespectful or anything like that. It's usually to kind of pick, like Frank, for example. Like I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but I know that
No.
that character really bothers scammers. It really bothers most of them, and so I'll do it. And Frank wasn't even actually supposed to be the name of that character either. That just came out of my mouth on stream, so now it's stuck. But anyway,
And you know
yeah,
how
it's
popular he is. I mean, he's a very popular character.
he needs his own stream, or he needs his own what do they call them things, emotes or something. But
Yes, he
no,
does.
it's fun. Like Macho Man and Mickey Mouse, like those are from childhood and stuff. But no, I like I said, a little bit of me in all of them, but nobody that it really reflects on in real
Okay.
life.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like you said, you've been baiting for quite some time here recently, just on stream. But since you've been baiting at the very beginning, what would you say has been the weirdest experience?
Wow, today's stream would be primary. Today was really weird. We had a scammer sing three different songs to us, including "Milkshake," the one "Bring Your Milkshake to the Yard" or whatever. Literally sang the whole thing on stream. They also did, what was the other one? They did an Ed Sheeran song, which they came up with on their own. I didn't ask for that. And then they did "Hotel California" today.
Oh,
Yes,
nice.
yesterday we got him to sing Garth Brooks' Thunder Rolls, and he
Oh,
did it
good
3 times.
song.
Anyways, that was pretty weird, but the probably beats that Mary Benjamin from PCH. I'm still actively talking with her. I think it's a man trying to be a woman's voice, and,
Yes.
that one's
I
odd. She's done prayers with me and, you name it. It's yeah, real weird.
That one was definitely unique, but the good thing is it's I mean, with PCH, you know that they're gonna last a long time, and you can just keep going at it for months for some people. Some,
Yep.
it may be that day, but yes, I think with her, when I listened to her voice the first time, it's like, "Oh my gosh, is this a transvestite or, you know, something like" but the main thing is you're keeping going at it, so I much applause to you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So now, since we have been kind of talking about your streaming, what are your upcoming goals for your next year for the stream?
Oh, hmm. I don't really have a specific goal in mind. I started the streaming stuff just so I can get to know people and people would kind of understand who I was. It's really hard to kind of build that network without some kind of element of, okay, this is who I am, this is what I do. I've been doing this a long time, that type of stuff.
Right.
But I mean, it would be cool. One thing I've been telling my chat for the last couple of weeks, I'd really like to hit 500 followers by the end of the year. Like that's my personal goal, and it's nothing to do with baiting. It's just like it's kind of. I told you I'm super competitive, and so I'm like, all right, let's see how competitive I can really be, and if can I get the numbers up that high. Realistically, though, on a serious note, I'd like to figure out a way to support the people that mod the channel, the people that work behind the scenes, Team SDS, all of that stuff. Um, if I can figure out how to do that and use my stream as a tool to help the people that are helping, I think that we could take this even farther, to be really, really honest with you. Like, I don't need financial gain out of this. I have a nice job. I got a couple things that I do off stream. This is all for supporting the community and stuff like that. So if I can do that, that would be tremendous. And that's probably what keeps the streaming aspect going right now is I'm on the hunt to try to do something good with it.
And you are. Yeah, I mean, I think all your goals you're gonna be able to reach for sure. And, I mean, you've just been so entertaining and keeping the views, plus I love it when you do keep chat very entertained because you will use their names in the
Oh.
conversation with the scammer. And with everyone having such unique names in chat, I love how you just integrate that and you just do it so well. Just a very quick improv. So I wish you, of course, the best of luck in all your endeavors. And just know that you definitely have much love and appreciation for that. And we love you for it. And so don't ever stop doing what you're doing for sure. But I think
Oh,
it's
that
nice
means
of
a
you to
lot.
be able to support, to be able to help the community. And so I think that's great. Well, those are my questions, and I appreciate you asking. But now for a little bit more further dive deep questions, I'm going to pass this on to Iconic. So, Iconic, it's your turn, my
Hey,
friend.
Bull.
Oh man,
Hey,
we're gonna take a
Bull. How you
deeper dive.
doing?
I better buckle up for
Deeper.
this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just kind of got
No,
you
yeah,
pre, yeah. Just started.
yeah.
All right.
That was a little foreplay. Uh, um. Okay. So my first question for you would be, in a nutshell, can you share a memorable experience, something that you've done in the past that sticks with you that you think you could have improved upon, or you've been able to embellish upon that resulted in victim advocacy, anything of that nature? Such an example.
Oh wow. Probably my most so memorable type experience that I should have done better was one of my very first PCH baits, and this was years ago. I'd never really baited that aspect before, and I had a phone call. Actually, they called me. That's right, and I took the call and realized who it was. So I baited them for a while. I had them mad at me. I was yelling over the fence, all this crazy stuff. We took them on a ride, but I didn't really know what I was doing at that time. I didn't understand the dynamic of that type of bait, and those guys can be super dangerous, especially being in closer proximity to the country. And
Mm,
when I did some more reading about that type of scam, I had to kind of rethink how I was playing it. But they called me for probably a week straight, and I was using a burner phone. Like it wasn't like my personal number or anything like that. But that kind of spooked me. Like, okay, this is real. This is a little different. They don't just go away. And that was something that will always stick with me, that I got to be a little bit careful on how I approach all this stuff and make sure I've done my homework before going too
right,
far.
right. Yeah, because that actually leads to another question, which I actually had later down the line, which is, have you had any encounters with scammers who appeared to be particularly skilled or dangerous that you yourself felt were at risk and had to abandon a call, for instance?
Oh, dangerous. There's a couple different ways to take that. One way that I feel that I've talked to people that are dangerous, it's more not danger to me, but some of these scammers are very eloquent. Like they speak very, very clearly, and they're very convincing. They're very manipulative. those are the ones that probably scare me the most because I think they could do the most damage.
Right.
Um, and so those are the ones I'll try to bait the longest or try to keep them on as long as I possibly can because I don't want them speaking to my grandmother or somebody else's uncle or anything like that. So
Right. Right.
in that respect, as far as like personal safety, I take a lot of safety measures and a lot of precautions. So I don't feel like I've ever been, but I will share a quick story. It's actually happened to me last week. I was on doing something on my computer. It's a computer I use for doing streams, and as you know, I don't use my camera, but my camera kept popping on, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like I've never once, even off stream, had a scammer ever connect to a VM. Nothing. I've never done it. Um,
Mhm.
and it's not because I don't want to. It's just I've never had to. And I thought for a second, like, oh my God, did I get hacked? And I couldn't figure it out. And so that's the one time I've actually been kind of scared, like, oh my God, I figured it out. It ended up being a program had updated and was using the using the camera when I opened up a browser. So it kind of freaked
Gotcha.
me out. But anyways, that's the most scared I've ever been with like, okay, I did something wrong. But nothing
Wow.
dangerous. No great
That
stories that way.
sounds like that would have been freaky, especially going into this kind of community where you never know what you're interacting with and who you're talking to. Having that kind of pop up definitely is not sketchy, but is definitely a red flag for a lot of people. Some
Yeah,
people don't even
absolutely,
realize that malware can access your camera, and for some people, that to them sounds very technical, but that's just the beginning. And it does get frustrating, and it also gets very scary at times because if you're doubting your software or your computer or what you're using to really get at these scammers, that becomes a hazard, and it could be very bad later down the road, even if you ignore the smallest hint of a flag.
for sure.
So I can definitely understand. That's definitely something that is Amanda, how would you put it? It would definitely be something that is a red flag, but is also a indicator, I guess is what I would try and say. Yeah, an
Yes,
indicator.
I agree. You go right ahead.
Okay. Did you ever particularly have a scam that you targeted? Like, did you specifically target Geek Squad, or did you just come across these and just go as you will? And that's another question, actually.
I'd kind of took them as they came early on. Like we'd get emails in spam folders, or I'd have friends pass them along to me, and
Mhm.
kind of took it as sport a lot of times. And some of my friends would think it was funny, just being there and listening and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
not really anything target. I kind of do everything. It doesn't matter if it's tech, refund scam, defenders, Social Security. We did one last week. Had a pharmacy
Mhm.
one, PCH, kind of just anything that comes along. I'm feel like I'm good at talking and making stuff up on the fly. So
Okay.
if it's something I haven't done before, I'm up for the challenge for sure.
Of course, of course. That leads to a question I don't have listed. What was the most unique scam you've come across?
Oh, there's been so many. Somebody turned me on one recently. I don't remember who sent me that one, and it was gun sales. That was kind of weird. I never was able to
Whoa.
connect with any, though. I never was able to get on the phone with any, but I guess they're based out of different countries in Africa. That would have been kind of unique and different. But
Wow.
I haven't actually gotten on with one yet. Today we did a Macy's one. I haven't done Macy's before, but that's just a typical refund, right? Uh,
Yeah. Well, they'll
but
just take any shop and then say, "Oh, you owe us money." So,
yeah, exactly.
We need that $500. Yes.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I haven't heard of guns. I've heard of like the hay and the puppy mill type scams,
Yeah, I've
but
seen
oh,
some
not the guns.
streamers
So
do
that's
puppies.
so now that you've had that experience, we'll have to we'll dive deep further on that one next time.
Yeah, I'll let you know when if I ever get a hold of one of them. That would be interesting to understand more about that.
okay. Okay. So that would lead to, how do you protect your personal information identity while while baiting scammers? Is there any particular method that you recommend to anybody who's just interested in the idea or the topic of scam baiting? Like, what's
If
your
you're
go-to three rules?
if you're gonna do this and you're gonna use your computer in any way, definitely have a VPN set up virtual machine, all that stuff. Like you need to really protect your your tools, right? Whatever you're going to use for that.
Mhm.
Um, Another rule that I'm really big on is not revealing any personal information whatsoever. Location. Don't use your own phone number. Use something else. Don't use the free stuff. There's text now. There's Google Voice. There's all kinds of stuff that you can use out there. But keep personal stuff completely out of it. And the third thing that I'd say that I'm really, really careful on is not to involve anybody, even if people I don't know. Like I'll never give a scammer an address of somebody's house, even if they're across the country and I don't know them. I just find it on Google. I think you could put people in danger by doing that kind of stuff. So I'm real careful. I don't reveal much to scammers. I don't give them a lot of personal information, even as my bait character. So just trying to
Mhm.
stay real careful and use common sense on that stuff.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. Yeah, these questions are definitely a lot more intense than I anticipated. I did write these down a week ago, keep in mind, and these are very detailed. Did can you describe a particularly successful or satisfying scam baiting operation?
Ooh. Uh, well, there was a time, I think it was uh, within the last couple of weeks, I was able to get 5 different mule addresses in a week, so that was kind of fun. Um,
Yay!
that kind of
No
stuff is real
way.
satisfying to me. Yeah, it's pretty awesome when I can
Congratulations.
do that. No, thank you. The bigger part is being able to report that stuff and hopefully, something good comes out of it. That's always kind of how I view something successful. If I'm able to extract something out of the scammers besides wasting their time, like that's kind of like the cherry on the top, right? There's some other things that I can't really talk about quite yet that I'm hoping, maybe over the coming months that I can talk about. But
Mhm.
right now, that's probably as detailed as I can go into some of this stuff.
Of course, of course.
And then also,
Um,
it's very satisfying. You asked about satisfying. It's satisfying when I have scammers pretending to cry, when they're praying, when they're singing songs, when they're calling me Papa. Like that's satisfying. I'll I'll take somebody's dignity away from them.
Yes, have
well,
them sing happy birthday to you next time when your
Oh,
birthday
that's a
is.
good point. That's a good point. I can't give
But
away my birthday though. That's personal
well,
information.
you make up a day. You're
That's
like,
true.
mine's April 26th. That's my fake birthday.
There you go. Yeah,
And so
George
just pick a
George will
day.
have that.
Yeah, pick a day, and because that's what something that another friend does when he's baiting and just trolling, he'll add in, have him sing happy birthday to him and just kind of get the interaction keep going. But
I love
again,
it.
mhm, sorry to interject
okay.
there, but I think it's
No,
great.
of course. No, of course. That is actually particularly interesting to me because now I'm gonna give you a question that's not on the list. But at what point do you feel you're obligated to get law enforcement involved in some of your scam baiting endeavors, or do you skip them directly and go straight to an ISP, which is your internet service provider?
Oh, yeah. So I've learned there's a couple of different ways that I'll actually report information like that, and I view myself as kind of like right now I'm at the bait stage, right? I don't want to overstep my bounds. So if I'm not trained to do something or I don't have the know-how to do something, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to
Right.
jeopardize whether it's some of these mule addresses I get, they could be real victims themselves and be completely
Yep.
unknowing. And I don't ever want to put anybody in jeopardy or risk anything. So
Mhm.
I have some very specific avenues that I trust very, very dearly that I'll report that. And then they have the training and capabilities and know how to do that. I think if I were to go a step further, I would be overstepping what my expertise would be. And I would be afraid that I'd mess something like that up.
Right, of course. I mean, you definitely don't want to overstep your boundaries, especially when it comes to law enforcement.
Right. Now, I'll as a caveat, if I'm out at the grocery store and I see an elderly gentleman there trying to, buy gift cards or at a Bitcoin thing or something like that, I'm going to ask questions. Um,
Of course.
I had a relative, I'll just share this story. I had a relative that worked in a grocery store locally, and they actually stopped an elderly person from buying an excessive amount of Google Play cards. and it was for this very reason. They were getting scammed and they didn't know it. And so I was really proud because they wouldn't have known to ask those questions had I not kind of been talking to them about this stuff and showed them, YouTube videos of all the other baiters and stuff like that. Um, so that's where I'll intervene if it's in person, if I'm there physically, right? But as far as other stuff, I'll leave that to the professionals.
Of course, of course. So that leads to the next question, which is, do you work alone or part of a team in some of your endeavors, or do you do mix and match?
I'll say mix and match. I do love working with people. And again, I think I mentioned this earlier. That's why I kind of got involved in the whole streaming aspect too, is so people could get to know me and know
Of
like,
course.
hey, I've got something to bring to the table here. I want to help. And I like that aspect of community. We may not be like streaming together or collabing and all this other stuff, but it still is teamwork from my eyes because we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all fighting the same bad guy. We all want the same thing. So in that
Mhm.
respect, working with Team SDS and there's other groups I'm working with. I love doing that because you get to learn a lot as well.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's where I guess for me personally, for me it seems like it's very hard to maintain a team, but when it comes naturally, especially with people who are like-minded, it definitely can become a powerhouse within of itself.
For sure.
I totally agree. Because we're all on the
So,
same mission. Definitely.
exactly. Um, have you ever faced any ethical dilemmas when you're engaging with scammers? And if so, how did you handle them? Did you do anything in specific to mitigate that kind of issue?
Well, I've anybody that's scamming to me is a criminal, and so ethics will kind of go out the window a little bit. Now, I'm a little bit more careful on stream because I don't want to offend people and I don't want to, say something dumb. So I try to be a little bit more careful, but I try to act as ethically as I possibly can when it comes to that stuff. But everything that scammers are doing is completely unethical. So I guess I'm justifying my own lying through my teeth through them every time I talk to them on, if I'm this character or that character. Um, so I justify it. I feel like I'm playing a part in something bigger, and I can justify that to myself. I'm fighting
Right.
criminals that are trying to do something real bad, and I'm trying to fight back against them using their own techniques and tactics.
So, how do you ensure you don't cross legal boundaries then? Because I'm certain we've seen other people engage with scammers in unethical ways that are a bit more intrusive, and those could be legally not allowed or they're not valid. Um, do you know what that boundary is for yourself when you get to that point? Do you have a well, yeah, just a boundary.
I kind of view most of what I do is wasting scammer time. I do a lot of that. And so
Okay.
that's pretty safe when it comes to legal type things. And I won't meet with anybody like in person. Like I said, I kind of stay to myself. All the connections and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a gray area that I don't get involved with. Like I said, I've never even had a scammer connect to my VM before. I've tried reversing, and I've um, had experience with that. But like I said before, when it gets to a point where it's like, okay, this is out of my realm of expertise, I'll leave that to the right people that are trained and know what they're doing and know what the legality is for that stuff. But I'll
Of
just use
course.
common sense. I think if it doesn't sound right or doesn't feel right, I probably should stay away from doing that.
Right. So you listen to your gut.
I really do. I don't ever want to compromise the outcome of a successful bait, whether that's information gathering or time wasting. Um, I don't ever want to compromise somebody's safety, myself or other, for entertainment purposes or for even personal edification, right? I don't want to get in the way of myself. So you
Right.
really have to be careful of that stuff because you can get caught up real easy. It's fun to make people laugh. It's fun to see, people cheering and all that kind of stuff when you're going, but you have to be real careful and use a lot of common sense and go with your gut, like you said.
Yes. I agree. I've been in some regard. I feel very like-minded in this sense because if you are willing to capitalize on your unethical uh, adventures, that could be a dangerous role that could play into your scam baiting career. Um, but we're down to our last couple of questions. Um, can you provide any advice or tips for anyone involved or anyone who's wanting to get involved into scam baiting?
Be careful. That's probably the biggest thing, is be really careful. Know what you're doing. I think it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of time. Don't ever rush into that, because you hear people like, there's some amazing people that do this, right? Everybody that does this on stream, there's some amazing, amazing people, but you're not going to get into this for the first time and be Kit Boga. You're not going to get into this for the first time and be fun guy. It's not going to happen. So you have to spend a lot of time practicing, figuring out who you are and what your style is,
Mm,
before
Yeah.
trying to get into it. And you also have to make sure that you have the right tools. We talked about being safe and protecting yourself. If you don't have the right tools in place, you could put yourself in a lot of risk, and it can be very, very dangerous. Like I said, I know I recently got into streaming, but I've been baiting for a long time. And if I didn't feel comfortable doing baiting, I would never get on a stream. I think that would be
right,
extremely
right.
dangerous. The last thing I'll say about it is, you really have to know, and this is something that I'm still learning, is when to cut bait. When is it time to be done with that specific one? Um, there is a time where it's like, okay, this one's done. It served its purpose. We need to let it go. And I do think there's some people that struggle with that part of it.
Okay. That's fair. That's completely fair. Definitely valid.
Yes. And that's why I totally agree with what you're saying, Bull and Iconic. Is that way, if you still want to be a part of scam baiting, but you don't have the right tools, then go ahead and join in with other people to collaborate, because they may have the right tools in place to be safe. And that way, if you just want to be the caller, then you can just be the person talking while other people are running the VM, or they're doing the one dialing, those kind of things. And I think
Absolutely.
that's important, because that way someone can say, "Well, I do want to stream." Well, let's get you started first. Let's go to step one. Let's work as a
Absolutely.
team, and then move up to where then you can start building up, because there are things that I don't want to do, or I'll feel uncomfortable, and when I do, I just stop it. And so I totally understand, and I think it's great of what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So now that we're wrapping things up, and this is the final question I got, what do you think is going to be your prime motivator in exposing scammers from this point forward?
Why would I keep? Well, I think the biggest thing is, if I can tie up somebody's time, they're not on the phone with somebody else that doesn't know better. And this is where it comes in. Like, if you want to help and just waste people's time, you can call. Anybody can call and just talk, right? Um, I think the motivation will come into really making an impact and having less victims be contact or be able to contact. So if we're taking down websites, if we're taking down phone numbers, if we're calling and wasting enough time and tying up phone lines and resources, that's also great. Just reporting also, like, addresses and everything that I can possibly grab, I think is huge motivation. It feels great if I pull an address out of somebody, even if it takes me a week. It is the greatest feeling in the world, because I know that that might be something that somebody can use to halt or disrupt an operation that may be bigger than just one bait.
That's
That's
very
true,
true.
because you never know how many scammers they're helping. They could be like, "Oh, you need to send the money to this person," and they'll help. So one mule could be helping hundreds. You never know. And especially if they're big call centers, stuff like that. So I
Absolutely.
I totally agree. So that's why it's important to take all the information that you can, because the more information you have, the more information you can give to the higher authorities, or like you said, the other team members that you trust, that you know that are going to be able to take the next steps to resolve the issue.
Most definitely.
So, Bull, now that we're wrapped up and I have all the questions I could ask, where can we find you?
Well,
Yes.
hopefully nowhere. I don't ever want anybody to find me, so I'm going to stay off camera as much as
Stay
I
off
can.
the grid. Okay. Well, at least not on the grid, but where can we find you on social medias?
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I do stream on Twitch, BullRacksin. And I know people hate saying that name. There's a story behind why I have it. Uh,
It is
and
a
it's
tongue
not
twister.
Yes, it is. I've thought about changing it a few times, but there's a personal connection to it, which is why I have it. Anyways, you can find me on Twitch. I do have a YouTube channel as well, that although there's no videos up yet, maybe some stream VODs or something. That'll come over time. I've got some great content I want to share at some point, but that's the best way right now. And yeah, if you're ever in Discord or any of that stuff, you're welcome to drop a hi and hello. I'm out there cruising around as well, trying to build all that stuff up. But I just
Oh,
appreciate
definitely.
y'all being willing to talk to somebody like me and help spread awareness to all this stuff. This is fantastic. What y'all are doing is really impactful, and I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. I hope that this finds people, and people can share this and hopefully spread more and more awareness out there.
Well, thank you, Bull.
Thank
We
you.
do
Thank you,
appreciate
Bull.
that. And again, it was a pleasure getting this opportunity to speak with you on a one-on-one level and kind of just be able to share your story. And I know that's going to definitely impact a lot of people. And that's what we're here is to educate, prevent, and promote.
Well,
And so,
I do appreciate everything you guys do, and I do mean that. And I do want to wrap up with this on my side, if it's okay.
sure.
I do want to say special thank you to you, Amanda, also to Dinky, to Stephanie Humphreys, to Chappie. You all mod my channel and take such good care of me. I could not do that stuff without y'all. You got Team SDS back there. You know, Chappie has helped me out tremendously as well. She's
Yes.
a very great person that does so much behind the scenes for a lot of different people.
Yes, she
20,
does.
literally 24 hours a day. And then what you do with Scambait Beyond, you know, it's awesome. I've been able to get on your streams a couple times and just talk. There's so many incredible baiters out there. I really do appreciate everybody being so welcoming to somebody like me that's new and that doesn't have a voice in this, but make me feel like I'm actually part of something bigger than myself. So thank you. Really, really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And again, this is with Iconic and myself, Amanda J, with Bull. And we hope that you enjoyed this opportunity and that you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again.
Later.
All right.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Thanks for tuning into Scambait Diaries. We hope you enjoyed listening to our show and learned something new about the scam baiting community.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay up to date with the latest episodes. Until next time, this is Amanda J and Iconic signing off. Stay safe and happy scam baiting.